see, in Varnashram Dharma, the first 25 years is Brahmacharya. The next 25 years is Grihastha. The next 10 years is supposed to be Vanaprastha, where the husband and wife actually, hand over, rather than leave, I would say hand over to the daughter-in-law and to the sons, whatever the business and, the household. They hand over and they move on. Yes, Jabuti? That's in the office. It's in the back side. You can ask the security for GFS office.
And then the last 25 is the...
And the last, whatever is left, in case the wife is diseased, then the person can immediately take sannyas, or he has to make sure that there is someone, the sons or whoever, can take care of the woman, and then he has to take sannyas. So that's a very normal, so that a person who's so caught up in Grihastha life has to detach. And then once the old age means at least your one leg is in the coffin. That is for sure. So you start practicing Krishna consciousness more seriously rather than still being entangling in. So that's the normal social order. The couple move for Vanaprastha, they move for Tirth Yatras and all. The ladies, it's very dangerous. When they move out alone, it's very dangerous. In another part, at least in Shrimad Bhagavatam, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari moved out together. And when Dhritarashtra left his body, Gandhari also left her body. She jumped into the same fire. So it depends, whatever her decision is. And generally, the ladies, you can't expect them to earn or survive on themselves. Because once a person is gone, in earlier times at least, the person is gone in Tirth Yatra means they don't expect, they actually made sure that person is, the last rites are done. Because at that time, Badrinath and all these places, it's still dangerous, can you imagine at that time? So no one was expected to come back from these places. So this is the normal pattern of life that everyone must follow. Now he is like, person is 70, 80, he is still stuck in, taking vitamin pills to still stay strong. What can you do? Vitamin pills is like a very sober word I used for. As I told you, I have used a very sober word.
Can you put this down? I think it's got
Kavita.
I put it down. Yeah, because the vent is closed. There's no hava only.
Yoga just ran from there.
I think it's okay.
I feel as if I'm just going to...
Do you start? Yes. Everyone has Gita very important. We start our 6th chapter.
27.
Yeah, we did Neto Yato Nishchalati. So today's date is 4th of October.
Yeah.
The chapter 6. Anyone remembers the acronym? E stands for enemy or friend. That's the first 9 verses. And then there is Ashtanga Yoga. That's what the chapter is about. So the major chunk belongs to this category. 10 to 38, 36. Yeah. S is success or failure. That is 37 to 45. Am I right?
Yeah.
And then Yogi. That is 46th and the 47th verse. Then we end the 6th chapter and then we move on to the 7th. Do you remember even this part I had broken up?
Yeah.
10 to 32?
10 to 17
internal, external.
10 to 17 is how to meditate. Krishna teaches Arjuna how to meditate. All the aspects, the practical aspects, stare at the tip of your nose and sit erect and all these things are between 10 to 17. 18 to 27 is how to reach stage of perfection or perfectional stage, whatever, of the Ashtanga Yoga. 28 to 32 is
perfection.
what is perfection? Perfection is to realize.
The super soul.
That's right. Super soul or Paramatma. That's the goal of Dhyan Yoga. That's the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. That's the goal of the mystic path, mystic yoga. The last 33 to 36 is Arjuna's analysis of this yoga. 6.27, we were doing Yato Yato Nischalati. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what we did last time?
Yeah.
I told you it's a good point for chanting. While we are chanting, what happens? The mind runs all over the place. Yeah, takes a world tour.
Completely.
Yeah. And then comes back. Comes back when the round is over. You know,
I know. How can you realize that?
What are you doing?
Then the realization don't.
I am normal.
The beginning
I am not abnormal. I'm so happy.
is there, end is there,
Yeah.
and it's like you've gone for a journey
Yeah.
in the middle.
You've gone all over the place, and then when it ends, I'm like, can you believe I have 16 rounds gone like that? And then the last thing is like, oh my god, 16 rounds are over. 6.27, so Krishna speaks about the nature of the mind. Where from wherever the mind wanders, I'm reading the 26th translation. Yato Yato Nishchalati is the 26th verse, I'm reading the translation. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So basically you control the mind with your intelligence. The intelligence is supposed to be superior to the mind. Right? And then verse number 27, please repeat after me. Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham. Translation, all of us together. Start. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Right, so in 27, Krishna is talking about Brahma Bhuta. Did you see that word? What is a Brahma Bhuta stage? That is free from material contamination. Brahma Bhuta means free from material contamination. So we are at the second part of this entire of A Ashtanga Yoga. There are 4 parts to it. We finished the first part. We are at the end of the second part. So here Krishna is trying to teach how to reach the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga. So the final stage of Ashtanga Yoga is the Brahma Bhuta platform, where one is cleansed of all material contamination. Right? And we start the next part, that is 6.28 to 32, where Krishna emphasizes that perfection of Ashtanga Yoga is not the mystic siddhis. It is to realize the Paramatma in our heart. In our heart. Can we repeat? Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Translation together, start. Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental long service to the Lord. Right? So here, what is the highest stage?
Brahma
Samsparsham. Brahma Bhuta was there, And now Krishna is talking about Brahma Samsparsham. What is the meaning of that? I'm reading the purport. Self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relation to the Supreme. That means what is my position and what is the position of the Supreme Lord. As Krishna describes in 15th chapter verse number 7, Mama Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mama Amsha, he's saying, you are my child. You are in part and parcel of me. So this is my position. My position is that I am a child dependent on Krishna. This is our constitutional position. Then Srila Prabhupada writes, the individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. It's like a huge machinery, and a small part I remove. It's useless. Okay? By itself it is useless. When it cooperates with the big machinery, that is where its actual position is. So that's an analogy, that his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. Because independent of the Lord, we are unhappy. When we come again in contact with the Lord, that is called Brahma Samsparsha. The transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samsparsha. So this is what Brahma Samsparsha means. So Krishna says, when do you know you are reaching the perfectional stage? When you are constantly in contact with the Supreme Lord. And what do? What happens? What is the benefit of being in contact with the Lord?
Get purified.
Now here the next one is 6.29. After this contact, what does the yogi see? Or basically, what happens to him? What does he see? What does he feel? What does he experience? Next verse. Yomam pashyati sarvatra.
29.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went to the 30. Sarva bhutastamatmanam.
Sarva bhutastamatmanam.
Sarva bhutani chatmani.
Sarva bhutani chatmani.
Ikshate yoga yuktatma.
Ikshate yoga yuktatma.
Sarvatra samadarshanaha.
Sarvatra samadarshanaha.
Translation. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. I'm reading the first line of the purport. A Krishna conscious yogi is the perfect seer because he sees Krishna, the Supreme, situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. The Supreme Lord is sitting in each person's heart. What is he doing? Guiding us from there. Listening to all the desires that we have. The Paramatma has many functions to perform. Correct? So here the Lord is saying that what happens to that person who is in Brahma Samsparsha, who is in contact or in touch with me? He will see me everywhere. Correct? What happens? 6.29. A true yogi sees Supreme Soul in body of all living beings. And then he sees how all the living entities are dependent on the Super Soul, on the Lord. What does he see? Sees the Lord with every living being. Now in this living being is only humans included? No. Every living entity means even a microbe to a humongous banyan tree, to a whale, to an elephant. Krishna is with everyone. This is somehow connected to that shloka that we did. You remember? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Chapter 5 verse number 18. When we did this shloka, we saw that how a person is really Pandit. Pandit means one who is learned. A learned means Pandit. It's not a surname. It means you're equipped with complete knowledge. How does he see? He sees a Brahman, he sees cow, he sees a dog, he sees a dog eater. A person who eats dogs is very low class. Eating other things is fine. Eating dogs, that's very low class, but the Pandit will still see them equally because he sees everyone as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And what else does he see? He also understands that these persons are in different material bodies. Apparently, it's like, will you see someone, an actress who dresses up in different clothes, but we know that she is just, adorning different roles, but we know that's the same person. The same way this Pandit, he watches no matter what costume this living entity is wearing. It's because of their past karmas, because of different set of desires. That's why they've taken these material bodies. But actually, they are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The differentiation is just an outer covering. So the same thing is repeated here. Once the person is in contact with the Supreme Person, he understands that the Lord is with everyone. He doesn't make any difference. 6.30.
But to reach that stage will be so difficult.
That's what Arjun will say now.
It's easy like to read in book knowledge. But is there anybody who has actually
practicing this?
Anybody
the great saints, the great saints.
Anybody in this ashram?
The sannyasis often reach to that state where they don't make any difference between animals. I remember I read this thing that Prabhupada, he was sitting in his room and he was constantly looking at one place. So then he called his, he had this bell where his attendant would come inside then. So then, because he was old, he was sitting. So then his servant came inside and his assistant came inside and he said, what happened? And he said, he was constantly looking at a small insect, which is in the corner of the door. And he said that, take that insect because, here in the room it will get crushed by someone. He said, take it and put him in a prasadam flower. A flower which is offered to the Lord, put him there. So that then whatever happens. So I'm just saying that he has such a busy schedule. He's been traveling, he meets so many people. You won't even think about an insect. But he felt that, we'll get crushed here. So he'll put him out there, not just throw him out.
Yeah.
Generally what we'll do, I'm so scared of cockroaches, I'll just pick it up and throw it out. Not that I have genuine love for that cockroach. I don't see a cockroach as a living entity and a part and parcel of Krishna. But a devotee gets that particular vision. Where he says everyone, that material body is simply an outer covering. What to speak of cockroaches? I can't even see my enemies like that. They're simply outer covering. We can see only the torment that they are doing. So here a person gets equal vision. 6.31. Or am I jumping again? 6.30. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra.
Yo mam pashyati sarvatra.
Sarvam cha mai pashyati.
Sarvam cha mai pashyati.
Tasyaham na pranashyami.
Tasyaham na pranashyami.
Sachamena pranashyati.
Sachamena pranashyati.
Translation, start.
One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me.
I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So here Krishna is re-emphasizing the previous point. There's one thing that this person is watching every living entity is equally. And another thing also is that person is never disconnected, never lost. He will always see me constantly existing. Another person will feel, where is God in my troubled times and this and that. But this person will never feel lost. Correct? A Krishna conscious person sees Lord Krishna everywhere. And he sees that how everything is dependent on Krishna. So 6.30, Krishna is re-emphasizing and is showing the benefits of obtaining such a vision. What is the benefit of such a vision? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when a yogi is constantly realizing Krishna directly with his senses, what happens? He is my worshipper and he never falls down. And Krishna says he is never lost to me means what? There's one point that Krishna is never lost to this person. And Krishna also never forgets such a person. So it's both ways. The devotee never forgets Krishna and Krishna never forgets that devotee who has such consciousness. And he sees everything connected to Krishna just these different, even this material world, there's so many things. There are attractions, there are diversions, there's sinful things happening, and this person simply understands that this is different manifestation of Krishna's energies, simply created for our sinful desire to be fulfilled. And then this person understands, as in the Bible, Jesus Christ says that not a leaf moves without His sanction. So he understands that everything is happening because Krishna, Krishna's energy involved in it. So one with Krishna means that Krishna becomes everything for that devotee, and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. Yeah? In the purport, there's a beautiful shloka. Can you see? It's from the Brahma Samhita, the 38th verse. Is there? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shama sundaram achintya gunasvarupam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Yeah, the shloka is very important. Prabhupada would always repeat it again and again. He says that Premanjana, what's an anjan? Anjan is like a balm. Anjan is like a balm, it's like a ointment. So here he's saying, I worship the primeval Lord. Brahma is praying like that. Govinda, who's always seen by the devotee, whose eyes are ointed with the pulp or the balm of love. He is seen in his eternal form. How does the devotee see him? As the eternal form of Shyam Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. Apparently, Paramatma in the heart is four-handed, Vishnu. How does the devotee see? Because his eyes are tinged with that balm of love, with that pulp of love, he will always see Shyam Sundar. One who's playing a flute, he's standing under a kadamba tree, and the Yamuna is flowing. That is complete Shyam Sundar. Not just Krishna standing in a Tribhanga alone. He's standing with his flute. That is complete Shyam Sundar form. So devotees always see him like that, in that true form. So here at this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears. I'm reading the last paragraph of the purport. Never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee, cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. So it becomes like his life support. We have a life support system, we have ventilation, we have this, we have that. The life support system for a yogi becomes the darshan of the Lord. He has constant darshan, without which he cannot live, he cannot survive. So that is a very high stage. And then 6.31. Sarvabhuta Sthitam Yomam Bhajatyekatvam astitah Ekatvam astitah Sarvatha vartamanopi Sayogi mai vartate. Translation. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me and all circumstances. Yeah? Now, this Paramatma is an expansion of Vishnu. There is a four-handed form. What does Vishnu carry? Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. Shankha is a conch. Chakra is a... it's not a wheel. What's it? A disc. Yeah. Disc. Gada is a mace. M-A-C-E. And Padma is a lotus.
Who sees them as an expansion of Vishnu? Evolved.
No, here actually Paramatma is an expansion of Vishnu. Original Vishnu, the first Vishnu who takes care of this material world, who brings about the creation of this material world. That means the material universes which come out from the pores of Mahavishnu. In Journey of Self-Discovery, we did this part, where there are innumerable universes coming out from the pores of Mahavishnu. There's a whole picture wherein Yoganidra is lying down in the causal ocean, and then so many universes are emanating from his each pore. What comes out of a pore? Sweat. But from the Lord's pores, there are universes which are coming. How many? Unlimited. And inside each of these universes, who enters? The expansion of Mahavishnu, which is called as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, enters into, the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is like the soul of each universe, because he is the one who is maintaining, keeping it alive, maintaining each and every one of these universe. After entering each and every universe, from his navel there is a beautiful golden lotus which emanates, which stems out, and then when the lotus opens, there is Brahma who is born in it. In our universe, we have a four-headed Brahma who starts creating these 14 planetary systems. Now all these material elements which are available to Brahma, these 8 elements is Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhir, Evacha, Ahankara itiyam mein bhinna prakritir Ashtada. Ashta is 8. There's earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and the false ego. A mixture of these 8 elements, he starts creating this manifestation. Like you have cement, you have bricks, you have this and that, and you start creating your building. That's right. So this architect Brahma starts. Now each of these material elements have also to be maintained. Correct? So this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu expands into another form which is called Shirodakashayi Vishnu. Confusing. Shirodakashayi Vishnu. What happens? Now this particular Vishnu has two functions to perform. The first function is taking care of the material elements by entering each and every material atom. That's like a detailed explanation of God is everywhere. How do you know God is everywhere? He is inside each and every material atom, and he stands between each and every material, 2 of the material atoms, to hold them together. Now in science we know that there's a magnetic field between each atom holding them together. It's actually this Shirodakashayi Vishnu in his 4-handed form who's standing between these 2 atoms, holding them or creating this magnetic field. That's one function. Second function is Paramatma. He enters the heart of it, along with every living entity. Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So he takes a seat in the heart of each and every living entity. Right? So that's the 2 functions which he performs. Now what happens? Who's a high class yogi? This high class yogi understands that Krishna, the Supreme Person, and this plenary expansion of Vishnu, who's in the heart, are non-different. They are the same. They're the same personality. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul. Now here also bhajati, this word bhaja is used. That means it's a service. That means once you realize, that Krishna also is coming to that point only, that once you realize that this is Paramatma, you just don't look at the Paramatma and sit. You have to serve. Because that's a constitutional position of a devotee, that he has to serve. Paramatma is plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu. It's a 4-handed form. And here Krishna is directly describing himself as that Super Soul. So if someone asks that, how do you know Krishna is the Paramatma? This is the proof. He himself is describing in the Bhagavad Gita that he is not different than that Super Soul who is residing in our heart.
In the movie he carries a keychain. Oh my God.
But the play is better. Play is much better.
But it's exact copy, huh?
That's why I have not seen the...
That's the point.
That's why I didn't see
but
the
the
movie.
play is more.
It's more detailed.
I like the captivating now because you're seeing it live.
6.32 Atmaopam yena sarvatra Atmaopam yena sarvatra Sukham samam pashyati Arjuna.
Samam pashyati Arjuna.
Sukham va yadi va dukkham.
Sukham va yadi va dukkham.
Sayogi paramo mataha.
Sayogi paramo mataha.
Translation: He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and distress, O Arjuna. So here by proper worship, now once in 6.31 Krishna says, once you realize I am only the super soul, you have to worship. Worship or serve, in other words. Because worship can also be like, I'm standing and I'm watching, just looking. That is also, meditation is also a form of worship, but this is active service. Now here, what happens in 6.32, Krishna says that the yogi, he understands, I'm repeating again, he is a perfect yogi who by comparison to his own self sees the true equality of all beings. He understands I am a part and parcel of Krishna, same way everyone else is a part and parcel of Krishna in both their happiness and their distress. Means whatever material bodies they are in, they are still a part and parcel of Krishna. Now here there is a very important point to understand that Krishna is trying to mention. Number one, he is saying that by proper worship, yogi understands the actual situation of living beings of living beings in material world. We discussed that in 5.18 also, and then last class also, that how everyone is different because just the material covering. The covering is different, but everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. So this yogi can see the material happiness and distress, which is mentioned in this verse, is due to the laws of karma. Correct? Everyone is going through a different phase, and he never acts in that way. Krishna doesn't do it personally, he does it through the law of karma. In fact, if you see, there's a contrast presented here. There's one part where this yogi started his Dhyan Yoga, it was for personal elevation. Do you understand this point?
Yeah.
Going to a secluded place, practicing this yoga with such tapasya, it is only for personal elevation. Is he helping anyone else? No. Now Krishna is saying that when a person reaches a very high stage, what happens to him? Because of this purification, there is something called compassion which comes in. You understand this point? And then he see that how all these other living beings are suffering because of their broken contact with Krishna. Laws of karma comes second. Number first is when you break contact with Krishna is why everyone is suffering. So first this person started out only for personal elevation, but when he advances in Krishna consciousness, or when he advances further and further in this, even in this Ashtanga Yoga, he wants to help other living beings because he sees them in their happiness and distress. Yeah? So here is a sharp contrast. There's one side, there's a yogi who's interested only in personal elevation, whereas when he becomes a devotee, what happens? Out of compassion, he can see the cause of their distress. The other living entities, he can see them as distressed due to their forgetfulness of their relationship with Krishna. So if one is distressed, you must understand that because it's our forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna, the Lord. That's the root. It's like the other day Premji Prabhu was describing that, there's an ant. The ant who lives on a leaf. There are these ants which eat up the leaves. Now for that ant, this leaf is my bap. This leaf is everything. Correct? So if you ask the ant, who is the Supreme Lord? They'll say, leaf. For the leaf, who is the branch or the twigs? For the twig there is the branch, for the branch there is the main trunk, and for the trunk it is the roots which is most important. It is because of the roots that this entire tree is being functional. If I go and tell the ant that your parent is actually the root, will you be able to connect?
No.
What have I got to do with the root? Can we explain the ant that once this leaf is over, what are you going to do? So for us, we think that if this this storm stops, this rains, the nuisance, if they stop, my life will be much easier. Or if my children do well, my life will be much easier. My spouse, or my people at home, they cooperate, my life will be much easier. I just had little more money. Sometimes people say little less fame or more fame, my life would have been much more easier. It's thinking that the mentality of the ant regarding the leaf. The leaf is important, definitely, but is it all in all? Because the leaf is also depending on something else. It's like when Krishna told Karna, come and join the Pandavas. What did Karna say? मैंने दुर्योधन का नमक खाया है. He says that he spoke about loyalty to Duryodhan, and that was obviously fake, because even before the Kurukshetra war, Duryodhan was captured by the Gandharvas. Do you remember this pastime? There's at one point of time when the Pandavas had not gone to the 13th year, it was about the 8th or the 10th year, when Duryodhan wanted to show off. He understood, he obviously had spies following these Pandavas everywhere, wanting to know, kind of sadist, wanted to know what is happening to them constantly. So at one point of time, he sent out his spies and he found out that, they don't have much and everything. So he bought out his, he wore the crown as if he's the king. Actually, Dhritarashtra was the king. Unless your father is not, passed away, you can't wear a crown. But still he wore it. He, dressed up like a king, and he strode out just to show off to the Pandavas, and actually specifically Bhim, because he was very envious of Bhim. So at that time, just before he was about to reach the Pandavas, trying to show them his opulence, he saw a lake. Now this lake actually belonged to the Gandharvas. Now Gandharvas live in a higher region. They're very powerful. And when he was about to drink water, because he was exhausted from the long journey, he was about to drink water, then one of the Gandharvas said that you have to take permission. So Duryodhan said, what rubbish, I am Duryodhan. I don't take permission from anyone. And he was about to drink, and these Gandharvas were very irritated with his arrogance. Why is he so arrogant? Things even don't belong to him. So they attacked him. Gandharvas are extremely powerful. They belong to the heavenly planets. So the type of weaponry they have, the kind of talent for fighting that they have, they're much more superior to earthly beings. So who was the first one to run away? Karna. He was the first person to run away. He didn't even fight. Duryodhan was so heartbroken. And then Shakuni ran away, Dushasan ran away, because, actually they tried. It's not that they didn't try. Then even the army was scattered because they were so heavy. The forces were so heavy of these Gandharvas. Finally, what did they do? They bound Duryodhan from head to toe. They bound him up. That is very humiliating for a Kshatriya, especially to speak someone of Duryodhan. Very humiliating. And what did they do? They bound him up and they were about to behead him for his arrogance. At that time, these soldiers, they ran to Yudhishthira and they told him what happened. Bhim said, "Acha ho gaya." He said, to this person, this is what should happen. So Yudhishthira said, no, we might be 100 children of Dhritarashtra and 5 of Pandavas, but for outsiders we have to be 105. We're always together. So then he actually sent Bhim and Arjun to save Duryodhan. That's like, salt on your wounds. So then Arjun actually fought the entire force of Gandharvas, actually pulled them back. And then they started saying that, okay, we give this fellow back to him, you take him. And then they took him to Yudhishthira, and then Yudhishthira cut open his robes. That was very humiliating for him. He went back and he looked at each and every one of them. He had red charcoal eyes and he said, this is too much. I go there to teach them a lesson, and apparently I learned my own, and I have to come back like this. And now Karna doesn't know what has happened. Okay, so when he comes closer to his camp, he sees that, Duryodhan is already here, the soldiers all are safe. So what he thought is that they won the fight over the Gandharvas and they've come back. So he enters the camp, and this is the most hilarious part. He starts glorifying Duryodhan, that I knew it. I knew it, you can do it, that's why I went away. And Duryodhan just said, I'm going to commit suicide because these are the people I'm going to have around me. My life is useless. And he actually started, that fast, what's it called? That no water, no food till death. That particular fast that is there. He actually sat down in, a yogic position saying that now I'm going to end my life. Because I'm so humiliated. Upar se these people are with me They're depending on me. They're like parasites, What do I do? So this is Karna's category. And now when Krishna tells him to switch, he says, no, मैंने दुर्योधन का नमक खाया. So the fact is, I remember one of the preachers, he was saying there, he was envious of the Pandavas. See, it was always a personal agenda.
Yeah,
Nothing, no, but she's saying nothing to do with the namak.
Yeah, my question is, where did Duryodhan get his salt from? Salt pan से आएगा ना. It depends on rainfall. It depends on, it's all Krishna's property. And this person is talking about Duryodhan's salt. And Duryodhan also is getting his salt from Krishna. So when Krishna says something, you have to follow him. Rather than follow all these, and of course it was to his own agenda, it was own Karna's agenda. Krishna also knows that he's not going to come. But still, he gave him an option.
But at that point of time, they didn't know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and everything is happening because of it.
Krishna manifested the Virat Roop right in Dhritarashtra's palace. But Duryodhan thought that ये कोई magical trick है.
But what about only Duryodhan? But what about the rest of the people?
Bhishma knew it. Vidur knew it. Duryodhan knew. What's his name? Shakuni knew it. Shakuni knew it. In fact, even when this Duryodhan and Arjun, when they went to visit Krishna,
He asked for the full.
Krishna actually gave him the first option, and he said, "I will take, I will take the army. Let Arjun keep you. It's okay. He's younger. तो छोटे वालों की बात मानना चाहिए." This and when he goes back, Shakuni calls him a A-class fool. He says, "You don't know who Krishna is. You left Krishna and you came here. You're mad." Duryodhan thought this guy is talking gibberish. He couldn't understand anything because of ignorance. You can't see the truth. Even as Krishna is manifesting his full form, still you're so blind. It's lust. It's my sinful desires that I can't see.
There's no balm of love.
Yeah. That is also not there. That also. So here, now the problem is 32. Now finally Krishna is saying, we're at the end of this. Perfection is that you see everyone equally. You see everyone as part and parcel, and you should have compassion. Now starts Arjun's analysis. Now Arjun is thinking, can I think Yudhishthira and Duryodhan to be equal? Equal vision. It has to apply to everyone. So Arjun's mind, he's thinking, can I see this Duryodhan and this Yudhishthira as equal? It's so difficult, as Varsha said, it's so difficult to have this vision.
But how to treat them equally?
Exactly, Even if you see, chalo fine, put this mask on this person, but it's okay. How do you treat them equally? So Arjun presents his doubt to Krishna, and he frankly tells him that such vision for him is impossible. Yeah? So, and also now we'll have two parts to this. Why Ashtanga Yoga is impossible in Kali Yuga?
Is it impossible? One.
We'll see the points. Then you tell me whether you can do it or not. We have 4 points.
1 out of million.
1 million. 1 out of a million also.
Kali Yuga, I'll tell you why. We'll see the practical tips why. Maybe. Let's give her a benefit of doubt. We'll give you a benefit of doubt. Okay, so 6.33, Arjun is going to start speaking. And how much time do we have? 10 minutes. So we can go through 2 verses. I hope I'm not jumping. 33, na?
Yeah, 33.
Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim stiram. Fine. Arjuna said, can we all read together? O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. How can I think? How can I think that Arjuna, that Yudhishthira and Duryodhana are same? How do I see them with equality? And he is very frank. He is frankly telling Krishna that this process of yoga is
Very difficult.
Unendurable, impractical for me at least. So point number 1. So here I'll write 6.33. No, there are 2 parts, so you can write it anyhow. With every purport from 33 to 36, I'll be writing 2 sections. One is explanation of the verse, and one part is why Ashtanga Yoga is impractical for Kali Yuga. So 6.33 is Arjuna's doubt, and he is frankly telling impracticality of this process, at least for his own
But
thing.
that even Krishna is saying that Ashtanga Yoga is impractical.
In the beginning of this chapter, he's saying that work is important. Yeah? But now he's already presented it, and he wants Arjun also to give his opinion.
But when Arjun says this, that it's difficult, is he talking about the Ashtanga Yoga?
So that's a perfection, no? If you're supposed to reach this goal, and this goal itself is so impractical to reach, why should I even follow this procedure? When I follow a procedure, it's for a goal. When the goal itself is like so, totally unendurable, so far away and very difficult to obtain, then it's Dwapar, no? In this age of Kali, it's difficult for an ordinary man to leave home, go to a secluded place in mountains and jungles to practice this Ashtanga Yoga. That's point number 1. Maybe few, but actually when a process is given, it should be more general. That's when everyone can practice. Can everyone do this? It's impractical.
Why only in Kali Yuga?
It is
possible.
Pehle, people actually had a lifespan of 1 lakh years. So then initial years, I was just reading about this King Puranjan, chapter 4. He had 1100 sons and 110 daughters, and his lifespan was so long.
And that time only the men used to go, the women never used to go.
Yeah, and that time, what happens? At least initial years, everything is done. By the time, even if you work for next 100 years or 200 years, things are set for your family. Then you can leave.
1 lakh.
With 1 lakh year of lifespan, even 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 years you enjoy, then you get a little bit of, at least some detachment sets in. Correct? So it's practical to leave at that time. Now we are struggling with a short lifespan. What is the problem with short lifespan? First 25 years you have to at least settle and make something that you can get married. After marriage, the next 25, 30 years goes to settle your children, your family, and then how many years are left? 50, 60 years are gone. Even if I say the average lifespan is 100, too much, no exaggeration, it's 80. I say 80, 75, 80. Then, how many years do you have? 15, 20 years. You can perfect. There are 8 steps, yam, niyam, asana.
Health is also not there.
Exactly. Are you able to sit? People with 1 lakh of year span, they have that fitness, that health. Even the quality of food and the environment itself is so much more better than it is today. It's pura adulterated food you get, right? From milk to water to everything. So is it practical in Kali Yuga? Because there's a bitter struggle there's a short lifespan. And people are not so serious about self-realization anymore. The seriousness is not there. Because this thing has to be practiced with all seriousness. It will be difficult for people to even move from yam and niyam. The regulations itself will be so difficult. People are not serious about self-realization even by simple practical means. What to speak of this difficult yoga system which regulates even the mode of living, the way you sit, the way you breathe, everything. And the 4th point is Arjuna rejected it even 5,000 years ago. See, he comes from a royal family. He had much better facilities then than there is now. And then even that point of time he rejected. Why? We see from 33 to 36. is Arjuna's analysis of this point. Yeah. So I'll stop here, and next class we'll start Arjuna's analysis. Then I think we have about 10 more verses left to complete chapter 6. So we'll chant. We have 3 minutes left. Just pass it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, this month.